Welcome to Reflections, Monday's short-form studio feature ahead of Friday's Photo Walk podcast. Thoughtful observations on creativity and, well, just life, really. You'll find all 5 of this week's reflections on our Patreon channel, The Extra Mile. Unaccustomed as I am, soya glazed poached salmon with water chestnut and bamboo shoot salsa, wasabi mayonnaise, caviar, chili with ginger dressing and seaweed dust. That was my starter on Saturday night just gone. 119 letters. I've never had so many adjectives on one plate, but I remember meeting that dish and thinking, this is how some speeches are built. Pile it high, dress it well, pray the flavour holds. You see, at the weekend I had the honour of delivering an after-dinner speech for a friend turning 70. A professional man who worked with a kind of technology behind many facets of our daily lives. And there's irony there, as you know, because usually tech gives me a proper nosebleed. He worked with a team that made all the clever graphics stuff work on iPhones. Without this company, it wouldn't be possible to do all the important things in life, like play Candy Crush at 3:30 in the morning when you can't get back to sleep. He also worked in radio, working for one particular radio ship in the Middle East that preached peace through rock and pop music to a region that's still very divided. To me, this was a speech that had to land just right for a very important person in my life. I've done a lot of stuff that's required me to link things together on stage across the years, and I've introduced many a speaker, but I've never actually made the speech. Unless you include my wedding speech. I mean, strictly speaking, that was after the meal. But this was a gig that required me to tell a personal story of someone who's been a mentor to many, including me. And that's why I say it was an honour. It had to be flavoured with history and humour, a unique flavour, much like soya glazed poached salmon with water chestnut and bamboo shoot salsa, wasabi mayonnaise, caviar, chili with ginger dressing and seaweed dust. Unaccustomed as I am to public speaking, being the full line, is the way many a speech at weddings starts, and it's a bit of a cliche, really. It's on the no-no list of how to emerge out the traps of speech construction. So I decided to look for some words to become a recurring theme, something that as a writer you pepper, nice link Neil with a meal, I like that, through the piece, something that your audience starts to listen for, something that becomes familiar, raises a wry smile for either connection or absurdity. And let's be honest, soya glazed poached salmon with water chestnut and bamboo shoot salsa, wasabi mayonnaise, caviar, chili with ginger dressing and seaweed dust is a theme you can play with. And as the speech went along, I played with seaweed dust as a word through laconic drawl. As a wedding photographer, I've listened to a lot of speeches. If you take the 1,000 weddings I've covered and assume a modest average of 35 minutes of speeches at each, that's 35,000 minutes. In old money, 583 hours and 20 minutes, which is 24 days, 7 hours and 20 minutes of stories, toasts, shaky hands, broken voices and brave hearts. Almost a month of living inside other people's words. But what I've learned in those 24 days is that the best speeches are rarely about the speaker. They're about the person who helped the speaker get there at all, or perhaps the reason they're stood there in the case of weddings. In this case, it was about a man who'd mentored me when I was but a young lad, who along with my late father said, "You can be what you want to be. You can do what you want to do. Anything is possible as long as you're not hurting anyone through your dreams or being cruel." So this isn't really a reflection about how to make a speech, although there is a little bit of it. It's also not about a starter that takes longer to write out than eat. It's about our mentors, the backbone of so many moments, including this one. The thing is, most of what we say and make in creative work is a kind of speech. A picture speaks, a story speaks, even the edit timeline speaks. And behind that speech, there is almost always a mentor who made the language possible. Now, photographically, my mentor has most certainly been my very good friend, Giles Penfound. I've had inspirations along the way, yes, the late great Tom Stoddart, definitely. Having the good fortune to have spoken with, shared some time online with Joel Meyerowitz, a historic pioneer of colour photography, particularly on the street. But Giles, who lives just a mile or 5 up my street, well, sort of, is my mentor. He made me believe 2 decades ago that someone like me could frame a decent picture, when I was, at the time, thinking, not quite sure about all this. I feel like a bit of a visitor. Maybe I'll go back to doing something else instead. Everyone needs a Giles in their life. And I'm lucky enough to have had 3. Giles, yes. My dad, definitely yes. And then Robbie Owen. Robbie turned a red studio light into a welcome sign. He helped me believe that a young lad of 15, an ordinary lad, not particularly extraordinary at all, could do something as mad as radio. He made radio feel like a room I was allowed to walk into. That invitation changed everything in my life. Learning to communicate and, to an extent, even back then, write in a style that wasn't anything to do with school essays, helped join the dots of a creative life. And it all started in the service of presenting on my local town's radio station that had a mission to entertain patients in hospital, which isn't an easy task at times for obvious reasons. This is what mentors do. They loan you their certainty when yours is in the wash. They sit you in front of a control panel and say, press that, it won't explode. They show you the difference between volume and voice in this case. They point to the place where the story actually starts. They're not necessarily always older, and they're not necessarily in the job title you would expect. Well, I'm going to talk in terms of photography and writing, but mentors are in every walk of life, of course. But if you'll allow connecting this to photography and the written word for a moment, mentors also teach detail. The art of noticing is contagious. A good mentor is the reason you clock the way the light slides off a glass as the sun goes down, or why the second sentence should be the first, or how a tiny change in cadence turns a line from information into heartbeat. They sharpen your attention until you can taste the difference between wasabi mayonnaise and a chili with ginger dressing, even when both are arriving on the same plate of soy glazed poached salmon with water chestnut and bamboo shoot salsa, wasabi mayonnaise, caviar, chili with ginger dressing and seaweed dust. The detail is in the cooking. Mentors matter, and they matter much in creative work because the ground's always shifting beneath us, isn't it? I mean, that software update thing, drives me mad. The market yawns, particularly in weddings. The algorithm, don't mention the algorithm, Neil, but I will. It falls over, doesn't it, and does stupid stuff to us. But in those technical wobbles, a mentor steadies the human ship. Look, whether you're writing a speech or not, maybe you're just trying to get through a Monday with your camera or your pen, try this as perhaps a small practice. Write the names of 3 people who lifted you. Now, one you may have thanked, one you might not have. One perhaps has no idea at all they've been mentoring you. Send one a message before the day ends. The creative industry breathes with these sort of wonderful connections. Energy in, courage out. Unaccustomed as I am to keeping things short, let me offer a toast of sorts to the people who helped us find pictorial curiosity, or in my case, got me to the mic and kept me there long enough to find a sentence that landed and a belief that navigated me through a radio career. If you're lucky enough to have such a person, raise your glass or coffee mug to them. If you've been that person, keep going. And if you're looking for one, listen for the voice that says, yes, you belong here. Try the next take, or take the next picture. Everything's going to be absolutely fine. And then take a breath, step forward, and start. Forks at the ready. Soya glazed poached salmon with water chestnut and bamboo shoot salsa, wasabi mayonnaise, caviar chili with ginger dressing, and seaweed dust.